There's a spray bottle sitting at the back of a hardware store shelf right now. Costs $2. And it outperforms every mold product Lysol has ever made. Not slightly, not in edge cases. Consistently, permanently, on the black mold that keeps coming back in your grout, behind your toilet, along your shower caulk, no matter how many times you've soaked it with the purple stuff. One application. The mold doesn't come back. And the reason you've never heard this presented clearly on a label, in an ad, anywhere, is genuinely worth understanding. The bathroom cleaning industry generates about $14 billion a year, and almost every dollar of it depends on one thing: mold coming back. Think about that for a second. Every product under your sink, right? Now, the Lysol sprays, the bleach gels, the foaming bathroom cleaners, every single one of them is formulated to address the surface of a mold problem, not the root. Not the spores embedded in the porous material beneath your grout. Just the visible layer, the part you can see. And when the invisible part is gone, you feel like you solved it. You put the bottle back under the sink. 3 weeks later, the dark patches return. You buy another bottle. That's not a coincidence. That's a product design philosophy. Reckitt Benckiser, the company that owns Lysol, reported over $15 billion in revenue last year. Their hygiene segment, which includes bathroom cleaning products, is one of their highest margin categories. Margins that depend entirely on repeat purchase cycles. A product that permanently eliminated mold from your bathroom would be, from their perspective, a catastrophic business outcome. You'd buy it once, maybe twice in a decade. The revenue model collapses. So the question isn't whether a permanent solution exists. The question is whether there's any financial incentive for a major manufacturer to put it in a bottle and market it to you. And the answer, pretty clearly, is no. This is where it gets interesting. Because the solution didn't disappear because it stopped working. It disappeared because the industry that could have commercialized it had no reason to. In 1947, a USDA mycologist named Harold Fitch published a 30-page field report on naturally occurring antifungal compounds tested across 17 different mold strains common in residential and agricultural environments. It was a thorough, methodical study. His conclusions were clear. Certain plant-derived terpene compounds didn't just kill surface mold. They disrupted the hyphal structure at the root level, preventing recolonization of the treated surface for extended periods. In some test cases, surfaces showed zero mold regrowth after 18 months. The report sat in a government archive, largely uncited, for decades. Not because it was wrong, because nobody with money to spend on marketing had any incentive to act on it. Here's the part that made me genuinely angry when I dug into this. Throughout the 1940s and early 1950s, before the synthetic chemical cleaning industry scaled the way it did, small regional cleaning product manufacturers actually used these compounds. Formulations based on thymol, a naturally occurring compound extracted from thyme oil, were sold in hardware stores across the American South and Midwest as mold treatments for bathrooms and basements. They worked. Housekeeping manuals from that era referenced them casually, the way we reference baking soda now. Common knowledge. Then, between roughly 1955 and 1965, the major national brands consolidated the cleaning products market. National advertising, standardized retail placement, economies of scale. The small regional products that used plant-derived antifungals couldn't compete on price or shelf space. They quietly disappeared, not because consumers rejected them, because they couldn't survive a market that rewarded volume and repeat purchase over efficacy. What replaced them were chlorine-based and quaternary ammonium-based formulas, cheaper to manufacture at scale, effective enough to look like they worked, and crucially, temporary. The compounds oxidize the surface layer of mold rapidly, which is visually dramatic. The black stain lightens or disappears, but they don't penetrate. They don't address the mycelium network, the root structure, embedded below the surface. Within weeks, the colony regrows from the root up. Here's what's actually happening when you spray bleach on black mold in your grout, and it's not what the label suggests. Bleach, sodium hypochlorite, is a powerful oxidizer. When it contacts the surface cells of a mold colony, it breaks apart the cell walls rapidly. The visible black or green discoloration, the melanin pigments and cell material, gets oxidized. It lightens. It looks gone. But bleach has a critical limitation. It doesn't travel well into porous materials. The liquid component evaporates or gets absorbed before the active chemistry can reach more than a millimeter or two below the surface. Grout, tile caulk, drywall, these are all porous. The mold colony extends much deeper than the surface you can see, so you've essentially scalped the lawn. The roots are intact. The grass grows back. Lysol's antibacterial sprays have a similar limitation, compounded by the fact that their antifungal action in most formulations is far weaker than their antibacterial action. They're marketed broadly as bathroom cleaners, and they do reduce bacterial load effectively. Against mold, specifically against the embedded high-fall root structure of a recurring mold colony. They're performing theatrical cleaning, surface results, temporary results. Now, you might be wondering why the grout and caulk manufacturers don't solve this. Some of them have tried. Antifungal additives and caulk formulations exist, and they do help somewhat. But those additives leach out over time, and you're back to the same cycle within a year or two. Still a repeat purchase solution, still designed around the problem recurring. The compound that does what bleach can't is already in health food stores, some hardware stores, and costs roughly $2 per application when you mix it yourself. It's tea tree oil, specifically the terpenin, 4-ol, and alpha-terpinyl compounds it contains, emulsified with white distilled vinegar. That combination does something chlorine-based cleaners simply cannot. It penetrates. The oil-based compounds follow the same porous pathways that the mold's own hyphae use to establish themselves. The terpenes disrupt the fungal cell membrane at the molecular level, and the acidity of the vinegar, around 2 to 3% acetic acid, alters the pH of the surface environment in a way that makes recolonization significantly harder. Here's exactly how to make it. You need 2 teaspoons of tea tree oil, the pure essential oil, not a blended product, per 2 cups of white distilled vinegar. Not apple cider vinegar, not cleaning vinegar. Standard white distilled vinegar at 5% acidity. Combine them in a spray bottle and shake firmly for about 30 seconds. The oil and vinegar won't fully emulsify. You'll see some separation, but that's fine. Shake before each use. That's it. That's the formula. The total cost for enough to treat an average bathroom, under $3. The tea tree oil runs about $8 to $10 for a small bottle at a pharmacy or health food store, and that bottle makes roughly 15 to 20 batches of this spray. Per application cost works out to about 50 cents to $1. The vinegar is essentially free. The results are not comparable to what you get from a $7 Lysol spray. They're better. Application matters, so listen carefully here. You're not trying to quickly wipe a surface. You saturate the affected area. Spray until the grout or caulk is visibly wet, more than you think you need. Let it sit for a minimum of 15 minutes. Don't wipe it off. Let it air dry completely. If you can leave it overnight, even better. The penetration happens during that dwell time. Wiping it away after 2 minutes is the same mistake people make with bleach. The chemistry needs time to travel into the porous material. First application, you'll see the surface mold die within 24 hours. It'll dry out, lose its color, and brush away easily. Second application, a week later drives the treatment deeper. After 2 treatments on a bad colony, the majority of people report 0 regrowth for months. Some report never seeing it return in that spot. One practical note, the smell is strong. Tea tree oil has a medicinal, slightly camphor-like scent, and vinegar is vinegar. It dissipates completely within an hour or 2 of drying, but while you're applying it, crack a window. Standard precautions, the same you'd use with any cleaning product. If you're skeptical, and honestly, you should test everything before you trust it fully, pick the worst spot in your bathroom. The grout line that's been black for 2 years, no matter what you've tried. Apply this formula there and nowhere else. Wait 3 weeks. Compare it to the surrounding untreated areas. Let the results speak. You've just learned something that a $14 billion industry has 0 financial interest in teaching you. Not because it's complicated, not because it requires special equipment or professional knowledge, because it works permanently, it costs almost nothing, and the moment you know it, you stop buying products you don't need. That's the actual reason this kind of information doesn't show up on a Lysol label or in a home improvement store's featured products section. It's not suppressed in any dramatic sense, it's just economically inconvenient. Your grandparents' generation knew to reach for natural antifungal compounds before the national brands told them otherwise. That knowledge didn't disappear because it stopped being true. It just got drowned out. The next time you see black spots forming in your shower, you know what to do and what it'll cost you. $2.15. Compare that to the $12 spray you'd have grabbed last week, the one that would have had you back in the cleaning products aisle by next month. If recovering this kind of practical, overlooked knowledge matters to you, there's a lot more where this came from. Forgotten formulas, discontinued solutions, things that worked before the industry decided recurring purchases were more profitable than permanent fixes. Subscribe, and you'll see the next one as soon as it goes up. And if you've got a bathroom tile that's been mocking you for years, go make this spray tonight. Then come back and drop a comment. I want to know how long it actually takes before you're a believer.